Well, at 10:24 a.m., we're at Thompsontown, Pennsylvania, on the Pennsylvania Route 333 bridge, as we see this eastbound unit train come by with not all of its engines operating. This location is right alongside the Juniata River, which is on the left. The railroad's been following the Juniata since Duncannon and does so all the way to Petersburg, Pennsylvania. Right here at Thompsontown, east of the bridge, there's another one of those boxes that have SIP numbers on it. SIP 142.3. That's the mileage from Philadelphia. We're much further west than we were yesterday. It's a glorious August 20th, 2020. Those SIP boxes actually replace position light signals that were once there. And the boxes represent signal indication points, which are pumped into the cab signals on the locomotives. Another wonderful day today. Beautiful. Nice crisp breeze, dry. Should be about 81 degrees and sunny today. Picture perfect for late summer. And flowing as smoothly as the Seine River in Paris is the Juniata River. From the center of the bridge over the river, you can get a good view of Tuscarora Mountain in the background. The railroad hugs this mountain for a ways west. We'll get a much better view of this mountain later on. And we have a westbound approaching Thompsontown at 10:55. Yeah, I'm not sure what train that was, but it had a lot of hot traffic on it. Amazon Prime and some UPS business. It's a little too early for 21E. That runs from Morrisville, Pennsylvania to Willow Springs, Illinois. I've moved further west. That overpass is where I was standing previously. Gives you a good view of the S-curve to the east. Identifying trains on Norfolk Southern's gotten a little tougher if you have a scanner. In years past, they used to call out the wayside signals, but they seem to have done away with those signals. Yeah, this fiber optic cable marker gives you the mileage from Philadelphia, 142.23. We have an eastbound at 11:10. I haven't had to wait long for trains on this line. And that trade had a lot of steamship company containers, but mostly domestic containers. J.B. Hunt, Hub Group, EMP, CR England. That might be train 294 from Chicago to E-Rail, New Jersey. Westbound at 11:26. Well, that looked like another 800 axle plus monster with its typical ES44AC DPU. There's a fascinating place I just discovered here in Thompsontown. Milepost 142, 21132 Route 333. See three nice little cottages. I don't see anybody here right now, but there's three of them, and this would be a wonderful place to spend some time. You got the Pittsburgh Line right out in the open across the street. And here at Thompsontown is this interesting structure. Tuscarora Springs Depot. Looks like a Pennsylvania Railroad depot. Even has a stairway up to the back deck. It's right at the base of Tuscarora Mountain. Years ago there was a ski slope here with chairlifts. They were right near here. I was walking around this building about 8 or 10 years ago, admiring the location. I was sitting on the stoop, laying down, taking a nap, drinking soda pop, just having a ball, enjoying the serenity of this scenic area. When somebody pulled up in front and asked me if I needed any help, he says, "No, just relaxing at this place." And he says, "You know, that's a private residence." I go, "What?" You know, all this time I was sitting on his deck and walking around his property trespassing, but I've seen many a station in this state that are railroad historical monuments. I assumed this was one. You really can't blame me. I wonder how many trespassers this guy has had. Then we move further west. We're just east of the Thompsontown interlocking, which is a little ways to the west. Incidentally, that last westbound manifest monster that went by was 35A, en route from Enola, outside of Harrisburg, to Conway. That's the old Conrail ENPI symbol. Beautiful area this is, right alongside the Tuscarora Mountain. As you can see, there's a number of important railroad sites to see in this area, and it's very photogenic. In this particular spot back in 1990, I shot a number of Conrail trains, and you'll see those on this video. Here comes Amtrak 42, the Pennsylvanian, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Then we'll get an electric locomotive that'll take it to New York City. And his next stop will be Harrisburg. At the same P42 that he had yesterday on the westbound Pennsylvania. 113. 12, we have a westbound NS freight. He's heading west on track number 1, the near track. Well, that was a hot train. He did have some UPS containers on board, but again, I couldn't identify the train. Usually around this time, there are a couple of hot trains, 21E from Morrisville to Willow Springs, Illinois, and 21J from Harrisburg to Chicago. We're further west of Thompsontown. We're at a little country crossing near the community of Tuscarora, another unprotected crossing, with a nice trackside house with a front porch nearby. This house had been abandoned for a number of years, but looks like someone lives there now. Looks like it's been refurbished. It's got a new roof on it, front porch with a couple of swing chairs. The person who lives there might be a fan. There's a blue sign in white letters with a blue background like the old Conrail signs. It says C.P. Tyson. That's probably the last name of the person who lives here. And we have an eastbound at 1:08, disturbing this tranquility. And the road from Highway 333 down to C.P. Tyson's isn't exactly the most modern highway. And we're now further west in the picturesque community of Tuscarora, Pennsylvania. And there's its namesake mountain in the background. Tops of the mountain here are about 2,000 feet above sea level. Looks like a gigantic wave. If I ever saw a wave like that, I think I might be late for dinner that night. And here in this serene community is the remnant of an old schoolhouse. Looks like it's been up at least 100 years. I've seen it more exposed than this. The growth has really taken it over, my goodness. Any minute I expect to see Miss Crabtree come out and ring the school bell and call the students to class. You remember Miss Crabtree? She was a school teacher in the old schoolhouse in the old Little Rascal films from the 1930s. And coming west is a train at 1:28 p.m. He's been hugging Tuscarora Mountain's base for quite a few miles already, and he turns away from it here. I think that was 23Z, I heard the dispatcher say. That runs between Croxton and Chicago. He had some UPS business on it. Huge train. He's going to be stopping at CP Mifflin up ahead a few miles, waiting for eastbound 20K, a hot shot from Chicago to Croxton. Well, I think it's a safe bet there won't be any school in September here. Well, here's the golden spot on the Pittsburgh Line, at least this portion of it. Mexico Farm Road in Mexico, Pennsylvania. Nice country crossing. It's a farmer's crossing. And in the distance, looming large like the sword of Damocles, is Tuscarora Mountain. And here at this crossing is another one of those signal boxes, designated in the mileage from Philadelphia, 148.7. There's a dragging equipment detector here, I believe, and there used to be a signal bridge. That's long been removed. And there were tricolor light signals standing here also, but those have been removed. The only signals that seem to be standing are the signals at interlockings. No more position lights. Eastbound at 145. This should be the 20K. Chicago to Croxton hotshot. Good sized train, lots of power on them. We'll spend a lot of time here at this gorgeous spot. Back in June of 1990, I spent some time getting Conrail trains here, and you'll see several of them on this video. I don't know what I can say about this spot that hasn't been said already. I've long since run out of adjectives. It's spectacular. The mountain in the background looks like the tracks come right out of the mountain itself. Tuscarora is actually a long mountain range. It extends in a northeast to southwest direction across eastern central Pennsylvania. This mountain is actually pierced to the south by the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Goes through it in a twin bore. There are other tunnels on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, such as the Blue Mountain Tunnel, the Kittatinny Mountain Tunnel, and the Allegheny Tunnel. There used to be as many as 7 tunnels on the Turnpike. The Rays Hill Tunnel, the Sidling Hill Tunnel, and the Laurel Hill Tunnel have been abolished when they realigned the Turnpike back in the late 60s. Although parts of the abandoned Pennsylvania Turnpike are a biking and hiking trail, and you can hike through the Rays Hill Tunnel and Sidling Hill Tunnels today. I would love to do that. Incidentally, the Pennsylvania Turnpike was laid on the original right-of-way of Cornelius Vanderbilt's South Pennsylvania Railroad. It was surveyed and the right-of-way was set up, but they never laid any tracks on it. Vanderbilt was trying to compete with Andrew Carnegie's Pennsylvania Railroad because Andrew Carnegie invaded Vanderbilt's territory in New York by building the New York West Shore and Buffalo Railroad line on the west side of the Hudson River. A truce was reached, Vanderbilt got the West Shore, and he agreed not to build the railroad, the South Pennsylvania Railroad. So I think Vanderbilt won that deal. He got more real estate where Carnegie didn't get a thing. At a westbound at 246. And that westbound is one of the hottest trains on the railroad, 21M, en route from Croxton, New Jersey to Chicago, with a lot of BNSF business to be forwarded. Passing over Book's Crossing, and you can see Mr. Book in the background, the owner of this farm since 1896. This was part of a land grant from William Penn in 1755. This is a blueprint of rural America. The white object you see behind the brush dead center is the roof of the old schoolhouse, which was built in 1882. Mr. Book, who owns the farm here, tried to buy it, but the owner was charging him an exorbitant amount, so he backed out of the deal. He wanted to make a home out of it. Lovely area. If you want to get away from it all, this is a perfect place. Mr. Book is quite diversified when it comes to farming. He grows sweet corn, potatoes, watermelons, among other things. This wide open area where the railroad is, back in 1972, a terrible tropical storm hit Pennsylvania, Tropical Storm Agnes. It virtually destroyed the Erie-Lackawanna Railroad, and this area right here was under about 3 feet of water. Yeah, these look like watermelons, I think. And approaching west at 341 is Amtrak train number 43, the Pennsylvanian, en route from New York to Pittsburgh. And next stop for him will be Lewistown in about 15 minutes. Eastbound at 350. Eastbound coal loads with DPUs on the rear end. I haven't seen that on this trip. Not many coal trains run on this line anymore. Used to be loads of them years ago. One thing you don't see on this line that used to run in Conrail days are iron ore trains. At 5 o'clock, our next eastbound train coming at us will be train 22W. That's one of the hotter eastbounds on the line. Runs between Chicago and Rutherford Yard east of Harrisburg. Train carries domestic containers and UPS business. 23M from E-Rail to Chicago is due to pass a while ago, but he has dragging equipment detection problems at Thompsontown. The 89th axle is giving the train trouble. And the train is about to blow the horn for Book's Crossing. That's the correct name of that crossing, not Mexico Farm Road. Mr. Book laughed at me when I told him what they call this road. Looks like he's heading right into Tuscarora Mountain. He'll be curving sharply to the left and following that mountain for quite a ways. That train had a lot of priority shipments on it. UPS, Prime Intermodal, CR England. One of the hotter trains on this line. .13 p.m. 23M is finally on the move. It's a stacked train route from E-Rail to Chicago Global 2. Stopped east of here for almost 2 hours with dragging equipment problems, but they found nothing. The conductor and the car inspector found nothing. So the train's going ahead. It's a 2.5 mile long train, but we got an eastbound coming now. You'll note the clouds reflecting off of Tuscarora Mountain. That was train 20Q from Chicago to Morrisville. A big train in its own right. And 617 finally coming west after a long wait. It's 23M. It's a stacked train from Elizabethport, New Jersey to Global 2 in Chicago. A lot of those cars will go onto the UP. By the horn, it sounds like he's got one of those 7500 class CS44 DCs on the point. It's not moving very fast. 23M is dogging it because the car inspector is doing a roll-by inspection of the train. And the engineer's trying to verify with the inspector that the roll-by has been completed. All right, the car inspector gave the train a good roll-by. Should be accelerating now. He has a ES44 DC At least the horn seems to suggest that. Those horns on those Gevos have a minor chord harmony. He's accelerating. The later Gevos and the current ones have more of a major chord harmony, but this is decidedly minor. It's going to take a long time for this train to go by. He's got a lot of tonnage to lug. Oh, what a monster. Whoa. Easily 2.5 miles long. They've been running them long and heavy. It's a good bet there's probably a train or two stuck behind them. And getting into a musical topic here for a little while, the horn on that ES-44 DC that went by, that sounded like the chord structure was a diminished fifth instead of a major fifth. Like it was da 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 da, as opposed to da 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 da. Very sad sound. Another westbound at 641. And that westbound intermodal was 21T en route from Harrisburg to Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City is accessed by the old Wabash Railroad. And that train was going slow through here because at the Thompsontown detector, it was not working. So the dispatcher advised this train to go at 30 miles an hour until it passes the next detector, which I think is near here. Oh, that train sounded heavy. I don't know what was in those gondola cars, but there were lots of them. Well, time is 7 p.m. I'm gonna call it a day. I've had 2 outstanding days rail fanning, country rail fanning, NS's Pittsburgh Line in central Pennsylvania. Lots of trains and great weather to match. I don't think I could have planned it any better. One of my more memorable trips that I've taken to the beautiful state of Pennsylvania, and there have been many. And the best place that I spent on the NS Pittsburgh Line was at this crossing, Book's Crossing, in the shadow of Tuscarora Mountain. And here's Mr. Book's calling card right here.